everybody.
Hi, welcome back.
To the long and short of it.
Welcome back to the long and short of it.
I'm Jennifer Giroux.
I'm Jaacob Bowden.
And we're here to not talk about golf, but to talk about golf, but through a different vantage point, right?
We're using golf as a conversation starter
Yeah.
to talk about things, maybe with golf, but deeper, and talk about life.
Yeah. And we're calling in today, or we're podcasting in from our neighborhood park, which we're really invested in. So we have a lot of connections to this park. We do a lot of work in this park with our community. So it's great to be outside. It's summertime. You know, we're in Detroit. We got to go hard when we're outside.
Summer, great weather. There was a really cool mural back here that was just painted somewhat recently.
Yeah, a couple of years ago. So what are we doing? Today, are we going back to our conversation prompts? We have this deck of cards. What's going on here?
I think so. So I am a professional golfer, and I turned pro in 2003. And over the course of roughly 20 years, I had a lot of amazing things happen to me. And so I wrote a lot of those things down on these cards. And many of you who followed along with my golf career may know about the public-facing golf-y kinds of things. But what you may not know is the behind the scenes.
You have a deeper side of you.
There's a deeper side and another perspective.
As we all do. Yes. So basically, you've put a lot of different experiences, different moments from a draft of a memoir that you wrote last year onto these cards. And I'm going to pick one, and we'll use that to dive in.
She hasn't seen the card. She doesn't know what's on them.
That's true. That's true.
So she'll react. I'll provide a little context, and then we'll just kind of see what the conversation
says. All right, I'm going to pick this one. So let's see what we have here. Okay, so this says, data makes me comfortable. Insights, 4 months. Jordan Spieth, 7.3%. Me, 7.0%. Tour, 3-putt, 33 feet versus 46.3. Oh my gosh, this is a lot of data. In strategy, to change in strategy. Oh yeah, because he put a mathematical symbol on here. Change in strategy, all right? It's like a math class. Oh my gosh, too risky. So change in strategy, it's a little triangle. Change in strategy, too risky. I didn't know I'd be reading a math equation. What does this mean? Data makes me comfortable. Insights, 4 months. Jordan Spieth, 7 point. What does this mean? What are we talking about here?
Do you have any idea what that would reference?
I don't know.
If not, that's okay. Some of these things I needed to put a little bit of info to jog my memory.
Yeah, okay. So I have no idea. I mean, you're a great putter.
Where this is going.
Okay, so fill me in. I have no idea.
So I need to keep that out because I need to
You need to reference it because he doesn't even know. So he's already deal with.
This was.
I appreciate you.
So. In my golf career, I was always kind of known for power and distance off the tee.
You are still known for power and distance.
Yes, or that's
you're the swingman.
Things I'm known.
Yes.
And I always thought I was a good putter, the short little shots, but I didn't really have any reference point to know whether or not that was the case.
Yeah.
So over the course of 4 months, when we lived in Washington, D.C., I really tracked my putting statistics in really high level of detail.
This is where you're data obsessed.
And then I compared it to a guy named Jordan Spieth. He's been the number 1 golfer in the world before. And he had a year where he was kind of subjectively widely considered as the best long putter on the tour. And so I went into the PGA Tour's website, grabbed a bunch of data, a whole season's worth of his putting data, and then I took 4 months of my own putting data and compared myself to him. And I realized that one of my hidden strengths was my distance putting. And I had no idea until the data insights revealed something about myself that I had no idea. And knowing that, it caused a major change in strategy for how I played. So normally in golf, you hit it really far in the first shot. And then in the second shot, generally, you try and get it as close to the flag as you can. But me, with my strength, I tend to take on too much risk. I'm very comfortable taking risk.
I mean, yeah, clearly.
Just being a professional athlete and being an entrepreneur,
Yeah.
you need to kind
Be
of
risk-taking.
be a little bit kind of absurd, have an absurd level of like risk tolerance, I think.
Yeah.
Because you're doing things that just most people wouldn't do.
Yeah.
But where that was hurting me was when I hit my approach shots, I was taking too much risk.
Yeah.
It was comfortable for me, but then it would get me in trouble and then I would leak shots. So on my approach shots, then it changed my strategy, knowing that I was basically one of the best in the world from long putts. I forced myself to take less risk on my approach shots and relied on my distance putting.
Right.
Now knowing that I was a good long putter.
Yeah.
And it eliminated a lot of those mistakes.
Interesting.
And so my scoring average dropped down. I was like, why am I not getting more out of my rounds?
Yeah.
So I guess where I was maybe kind of opening this with was, and how I found out about this was, I learned a lot about myself through data insights.
Yes.
But then also, I think if we look back at it, that might have come from either astrology or human design. So in trying to find all these pathways.
This combo just got very interesting. Okay. Just to all the golfers or the men out there who are playing sports, I mean, is this your dream where you can just explain your sport, your game to your partner? I'm just sitting here, I'm riveted.
I'm trying to like.
Yeah, no, I'm loving it actually. I remember this.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
Healthy.
this is definitely a golf podcast right now.
Yeah,
But
so
just,
I needed to provide a little context. But
course,
where
yeah.
some of that came from was getting to that point where I could take advantage of data insights. I also had to combine it with some research that I'd done about myself and intuitive insights and a lot of internal reflection and study, and taking a lot of personality tests to know and understand that, to me, it feels normal to take some risk. But I didn't realize that that's not really a normal thing. So when I take personality tests and stuff, it's like, oh, you have really high tolerance for risk. And then in the diffusion of innovation, there's a style of like where you're an innovator, just a handful of people are true innovators, and then there's a little bit of early adopters, then you start to get to early market penetration, later
Yeah.
market penetration, then the laggards.
yes.
So that was, understanding that was also revelatory about myself.
All these pieces.
Yeah, so it was like assembling all these little pieces of inner reflection and self-study. And then I think from either human design or astrology, I was able to glean that, and you could already observe this, that like data makes me feel comfortable.
Data does make you
I like
look at
being
it, what happened.
doing research, and maybe that's the Gemini rising part of me. But I guess I want to like let this evolve into a conversation and
Yeah.
stop providing context, I guess. But I guess the thing of this for me was doing a lot of internal self-study over many years. It was worth it doing that because it allowed me to become better at what I do, and whether that's golf, and this could have been like whether or not I was in golf or anything, but I think the thing that was really valuable was just taking some time to do a lot of holistic self-study such that I could piece it all together. And then by doing that, I was able to come up with something really insightful that who knows if I would have ever figured that out, I guess. So I don't know, I guess that's kind of like what all of that garble on the card here makes me think about. So,
I love it.
I don't know.
No, I love
What do you
it.
think about all this? Because you were here for a lot of this behind the scenes, helping me
Yeah.
study myself. We would do this together a lot. And it was helping you understand yourself better about the way that you work and the things that you're interested in and all that. So,
Well, I think the first thing that comes up, because I actually now do remember the moment when and you've gone through many iterations of this where you're like assembling spreadsheets upon spreadsheets of data. And I think one thing I just want to first grab here is the comparison. And, one of the things that and we talked about in the last episode, and probably will be a theme more generally as we unpack these different experiences and your journey through it, is competition. And so you were assembling this data from a perspective of personal mastery, which is one of your things that, how can I be better, right? And to see how we are getting better, we do need data and, metrics and
data
things
can
like
be useful.
Yeah. I think the thing though that I want to grab there is, and I just want to ask you, like, how do you think if you were to do this again, how might your frame be different? Because you use the word, I wanted to compare. And I think some of the things that has tripped you up over the years and tripped myself up and trips all of us up is when we get into the place of comparison, or, some people find a lot of power in that, comparing themselves to others as a way of getting better. But sometimes, and a lot of times, and the Buddhists talk about this, about how comparison can really steal the joy because it just puts you in this kind of competition mode. And I wonder if you were to do this again now, would your frame be the same based on how you've been evolving as a golfer and as a person? Or how might your frame be different?
Well, I guess the spiritual perspective is inherently we're all of the same value. So in that sense, although there are markers in the human experience in our current society that say that if you have more money, you're better, or if you have a certain job, you're better, or if you're like all these things on social media where people are presenting themselves certain ways, and then you think that, oh, that's how it really is. And when it really isn't like that. So I guess the first lane is to always, if I were to think about this now, is to always stand in your power and recognize we're all of equal value, of, equal power, I guess, in a way, from the spiritual angle. But at the same time, retain the confidence and the awareness. But that also sometimes data and comparing can be insightful. And in this particular case, sometimes it can be dangerous because then you're like, it can make you feel worse about yourself.
Yeah, I think it's really that awareness.
It's a very fine line to walk.
Yeah.
In this case, it made me feel much more confident, and it changed my strategy because I had no idea. I thought I was just kind of okay.
And that's interesting because it also goes into the stories we tell ourselves. And again, going back to...
I agree, it does. It can take the joy out of things.
It can, but I think you're right. It's about how do you do this? Because if you are performance driven and in the sense that you just want to be great, you want to be as best as you can be, and that in of itself is an exciting challenge. And you do have to have some relational data in order to understand, well, where do you sit, right? Like, who is doing the best in this field or this area, and benchmarking against that, right? I do think that there's an important piece around that. And I think the other thing that I want to grab out of this is the story we tell ourselves. So for you, and I do this as an anthropologist, I gather data, qualitative data. When I'm doing the studies I'm working on, I analyze that data and I turn that data into a set of findings and insights. What does this actually mean? And that then gives me directionality on what to do, or my clients that I work with. And I think that's kind of interesting with you too. And that gives me a story. What does this actually mean? And I think what I also hear from you too is that this process also gave you a story. Maybe you were telling yourself a different story before about your putting ability or your strength, as a golfer. And suddenly with this data and this analysis in your performance, you were able to construct a different story. Do you feel that that's accurate? Or what would it look like even without that data? I know the data makes you feel comfortable, but I think data makes you feel comfortable because then you feel like, oh, I'm sure, right? I'm sure that I'm this now. But what if you just are that? Like, what does that look like do you need that data to tell yourself that story, or to be confident? I don't know. I'm it's kind of hard right now, right? Because then we're like, oh, everyone can make up their own truth and facts and data. Maybe that's the case. But I guess on a very personal standpoint, can't you just tell yourself like you're the best golfer and you're the best putter? And
a feeling aspect to it also is feeling confident, and like you can't really assign data to that.
Well, you can. I mean, you did. You created created data.
Confident are you on a skill?
Well, and then you became more confident. You owned it. You're like, oh my gosh, look at this. Like, look at me. I'm better than Jordan Spieth, right? Is that what it is? 7.3 in his and 7.0, 7%. So 0.3% difference. So and that data gave you, like, he was doing 3 putts at 33 feet, and you
was the tour. So the
the tour
from the hole on average at 33 feet.
And you were able to do 46 feet.
Starts 3 putting.
Yeah.
On average.
Yeah.
And then from 33 feet, I go out to 46.3 feet. And
that's why he does holes in one.
Before my 3 putting was 30 plays.
Putts in one. I don't know. Whatever. But you know what I mean? Like, I guess I get it. I love that you love data. I love that you just gave me like 1,000 streams of data to even have this conversation. But I think also the thing here is like, and I do this too, I get in my own way because of the story that I tell myself based on some data that I've assembled about myself and in comparison to others. And sometimes that's helpful and sometimes it's not. And I'm just wondering if like, I don't know, I mean, I love this. This is why, this part of one of the many reasons why I love you. But I just wonder in your golf journey, like, do you sometimes use data as a crutch?
Yeah, this was one of the challenges. I think historically I've been in the competitive space, which that's basically where professional sports is. It's framed around competition, most part, and all the money and a lot of the money and resources go into the competitive part and not the joy part or the passion part of it. So as I've been rebranding and shifting this year into more of the joy space and the fun space and the curiosity space, I don't know if I still use data, I guess, but
We'll always use data. Yeah.
but this it was, I guess,
It really kind of shows you also how you've evolved.
it was so hard to not compare because being a professional athlete in our current society and systems, it is so comparative.
Yeah. I mean, you have to have some relational in order to, I mean, it's just a construct that we're in, right? In order to know who's going to win or who's going to, because there is something great around having that experience of being a top performer and, really trying to be your best in a field of other people trying to be their best.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Where do we go from here? Are we at the conclusion?
Perhaps with this one.
Well, I think, this aspect of story, owning the crutch of data, where you can find your own internal power without some external validation, right? Because that's also what data does. It's externally validating, whereas internally we can validate ourselves all the time, especially if we are trying our hardest, putting in, our heart and soul in something. That in of itself is very powerful. So I think about the long and short of it here as this aspect of, well, I think one is how through your deeper understanding of you, how you've been able to step more into you as a player, as a person, as, a thought leader, I'll say, even in your space, in your industry. I think about that piece and I think about story and how you're still grappling with and I'm still grappling with and probably many of us are grappling with but I think about that story and how do we balance that need for external validation and the balance with internal knowing and internal confidence and internal pleasure and internal fun. Because the fact of the matter is you love to putt and you have fun when you have a challenge and you have a really long putt to take and then you have that opportunity to make it and a lot of times you do and I'm always like, how did they do it? That's the long and short of it for me is I'm taking away this idea of and reminding myself of how am I balancing this external need or sometimes tendency to seek validation and that just internal knowing, pleasure, curiosity, draw.
Do you think there's a little kind of in this of keeping up with the Joneses kind of thing? Because it's like
Maybe.
If you're comparing yourself, it could be the danger of this, or a danger of it is like, oh, look, that person is doing this. I guess it depends on.
Well, and we're kind of pushed there as a society, right? And that's actually also the beauty of the human experience is that we're not just here on this earth to be. Well, spiritualists would say we are just here on this earth to be, and we make it a lot more complicated. But, humans are inherently creative. We are here to create. We create ideas and things and experiences all the time. And so I think that the keeping of the Joneses, there's an aspect where we are sort of conditioned a little bit to constantly push for more. And I even think about this, I was flying a couple weeks ago and everything they're making premium economy more and all of the status is more and this, and it's just all of these little micro things of more and create a little status. You're a little bit better than this group over here. And we're constantly confronting it in our society. So the fact that it bleeds into the things that we're passionate about I don't know if you're necessarily keeping up with the Joneses here with, your putting, but I think you really love data, you love performance, you love golf, you have fun with it, but you're in this also this construct and this system, which is comparative driven, competitive, all of that. And so I think it's all of those things.
I guess I wasn't thinking of keeping up with the Joneses with me and this, but just in general with people making comparisons and this person has this salary or this car. That could be like data comparison.
Well, and in your field, you have such a narrow realm of access and success. Like there's only a few people that get to the who are the best putter, who win the championships, who get to the top in their field. It's top heavy, right? Or it's not. It's very narrow.
It's overly top heavy.
It's overly top heavy. So I think for you, it almost conditions that sort of thinking of like, well, where do I stand in this specific way in relation to this other being or person? And it's not good or bad. I'm just saying it's something that I think we all deal with in certain ways. I think in professional sports and in certain places where there's just such a narrow window of success, you don't have as many opportunities for broad success. I think it's even more sort of severe. But therefore, the opportunity for growth is even greater, because if you can master your mind and maintain your joy and own your story however you want, that's huge, because the test has even been greater. So I don't know, kudos to you. Is that the long short of it?
Well, thanks. Kudos to me.
I don't know. What is, as we wrap up, what's it for you? What are we landing on? What are you landing on? I think I stuck that landing. Mic drop, done. No. But what is it for you? Bring us home.
The long and short of it for me was that I find value in digging in and grabbing all kinds of different things and assembling that. But so there can be value and insights that you get out of that, but then also you have to be careful to not let it rob you of your confidence or your joy, or I don't know. Yeah, so I guess.
And you had really fun doing this, so I'm not suggesting that you had a blast. You were like, look at this, and I was like, yeah.
Well, what if I would have found out that
Yeah, but what if, yeah, exactly. What if
I would have found out oh, I'm not even close, then I would have.
You would have felt bad. Or maybe not as
possibly, but then it would have been like, all right, well, how do I close this gap? Here's where I am. This is where this other person is. What do I need to do?
There you go. Now you're speaking like an athlete. I was like, oh, you would have just settled, and you're like, no, I would have figured out how to close the gap.
It was.
That's the difference, folks. That's the difference between an athlete and a pro. All right, the pro's like, how do I actually? Yeah, okay. Fair. I think we did great. We totally got into it. On that note, call in. Maybe the number's on the screen. It's certainly in the description. We are going to be getting this on podcast platforms, Apple, Android, Google Play, all the things, all the places, Spotify, all the places you find. So that is coming. We're just gearing up, right? So hit ball, go forward. And how can you support the podcast?
Share it.
Follow it.
If you're on YouTube, follow,
share,
like, subscribe.
I think we need more comments and questions. I feel like we had some at the very beginning, and maybe, we're getting our sea legs and people are tuning in and tuning out. But I would really love.
I feel like there's a lot of silent observers here.
Yes, there are. And that's cool. I'd probably be a silent observer too. But I love a question, especially our golfers out there. You have an opportunity to ask this guy all sorts of questions, and then for me to, be commentary extraordinaire. So, I think.
You see comments in there, throw some questions, call in, leave a message.
Call in, leave a message. You can even, it can be a prank call, confessional. Again, we're talking about golf, but we're also not. So get in touch, follow, like, and on that note.
Oh, and then also, if you're a golfer, go to swingmangolf.com.
Yeah, and support in other ways.
Yes. And then with me, there are sponsorship opportunities, sponsoring the podcast also, if you want to do that. So.
Yeah. Thanks so much for joining.
Thank you for joining.
Tune in next time.
And we'll see you next time.